And we are live. I'm going to go ahead and call to order the regular meeting of the City Council for July 15th, 2024. We have a few folks that are out today. All of those were expected. With that, we move on to the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Councilmember Gardner.
Let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, God, we come before you tonight with thankful hearts, and we are always seeking you for the guidance and the wisdom that we need to make decisions for the city of Maumelle, Father. And we ask your blessing upon this meeting and all those that are present here tonight, God. Father, in our country right now, while it's been a difficult few days, Father, we're thankful, Lord, that there seem to be times of unity and calls for tempered words, Lord. And we just ask that even here in the city of Maumelle, as we can do our part to represent our residents, God, we just ask that you give each of us here as elected officials the strength to lead with integrity and with vision and serve with compassion, God, and to put others above ourselves, God, and to always seek to help our fellow man. God, we ask you to help us as we embrace unity in our community, and that we'll listen to our residents with open hearts, and we'll work together, God, with respect and understanding. And we just ask that anything that we do, may our actions reflect the love that you have for us, and we can bring harmony among our residents and in this city, God. Lord, we're thankful for all those that serve our city each and every day and keep this such a wonderful place to live. And we're thankful for your Son and the sacrifice that he gave for us so that we can enjoy freedom with you, Lord. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Gardner. First, next order of business is special guests and announcements. We have the solid waste rate study presentation that we've talked about, and Doug Ford with PMI. If you want to come on down, introduce yourself to the council, and the floor is yours, sir.
Okay. Thank you for having me. My name's Doug Ford. I'm with PMI Terracon. We're an environmental consulting engineering firm in Little Rock and around the country. Our office here in Little Rock is over on Shackelford Road, down past the Heart Hospital, if you're familiar with that area. I've been practicing engineering for approximately 40 years. Celebrated birthday yesterday and realized my driver's license expired. So I came here to get it, and I got here too late. But that aside, so tell you a little bit about rate studies. We've done rate studies for the Regional Recycling District on their used tire business program to help them determine. In the state of Arkansas, there's a regulation that requires waste tire recyclers to set a rate on which they can get reimbursed, and the state reimburses. So we work through that with the Regional Recycling District to come up with fees for recycling the waste tires in the central Arkansas area. And other projects, rate studies that we do frequently are with water and sewer systems around the state, as we are helping communities modify or improve their systems. They usually apply for grants or loans, and the mechanism for that always requires an engineering study and an analysis of the rates. So we're familiar with it, with the process. And so City of Maumelle asked me to take a look at y'all's rates and at the things y'all do, and I have to thank the staff for helping me out. The public works staff and finance provided me information to help me come up with the study and to look at different alternatives and the ways that y'all do things. the study was typical of other studies. We look at revenues and expenses. It's on the screen there. Yeah. Who's got control? Do you have control of that, team? Okay. Yeah, if you don't mind.
I'll switch it to the PowerPoint. Which page?
Well, let's just hold there for a second, and I'll talk a little bit about the theory and the methodology of it, which is described in the study, and I'll skip around on that. But the theory on any rate study is to look at revenues, how revenues are generated, expenses, and to look at those things over a period of years and not take one snapshot of 1 year, because that's not adequate to do a study as one data point. So we were able to look at from 2018 to 2023, and we really focused on 2020 through 2023, because as well known, 2020 things changed. So, and I'll talk about that a little bit, but the methodology for a rate study is kind of based on the American Public Works Association documents and the American Water Works Association. And the American Water Works Association has an extensive guideline for doing rate studies for water utilities and wastewater utilities. And those studies can be very in depth and require a lot of study, because the way they collect revenues is different than typical solid waste revenue collection, and then their costs are spread out over a much larger spectrum than solid waste. There's chemical costs, there's distribution, there's transmission, depending on how far they have to transfer water, and then test costs, laboratory costs, environmental reports, engineering costs, and typical water and sewer rates are somewhat variable. If you know, look at your water bill, there is a base rate and then there's a usage rate. And depending on where you land in that, residential customers probably land fairly close to the base rate all the time, but industrial or commercial customers use a lot of water, so there's a fixed component and a variable component. Solid waste is typically a fixed component. You charge per household or per business. So that's a little bit different than, but the same methodology, the same thinking applies. You look at revenues, you look at expenses, you look at population, and you come up with a rate. It's not, you know, even an engineer can figure it out. So the services that we looked at for Maumelle are the services that y'all provide: curbside waste collection, curbside yard waste collection, and recycling pickup. Plus, y'all do have a transfer station where residents can go and drop off bulk items and they get transported. But we really didn't focus on that. That's a small segment of y'all's waste stream. It's almost a negligible amount of money that y'all collect. It doesn't really fit in there anywhere. So we did not look at a better way to do that, or even perhaps a rate increase in that. We mainly focused on the curbside waste pickup and the recycling, okay? We looked at the routes and the pickup, the collection times, and those things for Maumelle. We couldn't find anything that we could dramatically change to improve that. I'm sure you change routes and things like that from time to time as things change. But City of Maumelle footprint wise is kind of fixed right now, has been, so it's not as big as Little Rock or North Little Rock and is spread out. So looking at those efficiencies don't really seem to save any, you know, real money, maybe pennies per month. So we didn't see anything to change there. So just getting right into it and looking at this table here first, table 1, you'll see that your monthly rate of $15.50 starting in 2020 through 2022 has remained flat. But the real truth is it hasn't changed since 2006. It's a long time. I don't know of anything else that hasn't changed since 2006. In 2020, things through 22, we've seen some pretty dramatic increases in labor, fuel, equipment, parts, everything. So without a deep look, you could just about on the surface say that the rates needed to be increased. But then I'll get into the nuts and bolts of it. The interesting things here on table 1 are if you look at the class 1 tonnage in 2020 at 6,390 tons, in 2022 is about 5,100 tons. It's a decrease in the tonnage there, and that may be related to people are recycling a little bit more, but you see the recycling tonnage also went down. People were buying less or just doing different things. It's hard to put a finger on that exact thing. So we won't focus on that because you'll see later that revenues did not change that much, which is an important thing. So if you don't mind, let's look at, okay, so curbside still, I'm sorry, do you mind going back to that table 1?
Sure.
So yard waste, looking at 2022, yard waste did go down, curbside, recycling went down a little bit, and revenues went down. And the revenue explanation is purely that the waste volume went down because you're charged per ton. So every ton that you take to the city of Little Rock is how that number is arrived. So let's look at table 2, if you don't mind, the bottom of that page. Okay. So this table runs through 2018 through 2023. Gives a little bit longer look at things. So revenue, you can see changing in 2018 from $1 million roughly to $1,132,032 with the high revenue there of $1,345,000 in 2022. So that's again based on tons that the city collects at the curbside and delivers to the city of Little Rock for disposal. Operating expenses, the next line, goes up a good bit year to year from $1.2 million to $1,585,000, and we'll take a little bit deeper look at that a little later. What happens in the operating expenses, but it's as you all expect. It's in salaries, it's in fuel, it's in maintenance, things like that. All those things went up. So the last bottom line there is a net revenue loss number. And the thing that I want to look at and share with you there are the last 3 years, 2021, 22, and 23. We have consecutive years of net revenue loss in that department. That's enough to consider something's wrong, something needs to change. Operating expenses seem to be fairly steady. at $1,500,000. If you look at 2021, 22, and 23, we're $1,578,000, $1,504,000, $1,585,000. The staff there is they're still understaffed at this. They have open positions there right now, so it's not. I don't think I can say honestly that it's completely fully staffed, but it is staffed with what you have. That's remained fairly consistent, but they do still have open positions there, so that number could even increase a little bit more. And as we know, hourly rates for labor are increasing. They're not going down. We're not looking at a change there. Okay. Moving on. If you don't mind, table 3 on page 6. Okay. So this table, I collected data from other cities in our area: Little Rock, North Little Rock, Sherwood, Conway, Maumelle, and showed their solid waste collection rates. These are monthly rates, just like y'all got here in Maumelle, and it gives you an idea at 1550 where you compare to the other cities for collection of your sanitary waste and yard waste. So y'all are at the bottom of that list a good bit. And North Little Rock is shown at 0 because they absorb that in their local taxes, or they, I was told that their energy rates help subsidize that collection. So it's really not 0. It's not 0. It's something else. They just don't have the rate. Okay, so don't get fixed on that. So based on the data, based on y'all's rates, there's some obvious things that I think that came out, and one was maintaining the current expense budget is not sustainable. It's going to go up. I mentioned that, labor rates are going up. Fuel is on the increase and is fluctuates, but is likely not go down a lot. Parts and equipment are not changing. They're not going down. They continue to be on the rise. So I don't think it's reasonable to say that your operating budget or expenses can stay the same or go down. Pay for sanitation employees to maintain a consistent staff is likely on the increase. We know from the arrangement that the city of Maumelle has with the city of Little Rock, and I'll go into that just a little bit in a minute, is that they have the mechanism to increase their tipping fee. Tipping fee is the disposal fee. They have a mechanism in their agreement with Maumelle that they can raise the fee every year. Y'all have a 5-year agreement with them, but they can raise the rate by the consumer price index or the producer's price index or the implicit price inflator by a set amount that's in those Bureau of Labor and Statistics standards, and I talk about that. So I do a lot of this with landfills that they're required to put together cost estimates every year to prove to the state that they have enough budget and enough financial assurance to pay for the closure of a landfill. And I don't remember when I've seen the consumer price index inflation factor at 0. It's always, at least in the last 10 years, it's been above 0. So I think you can count on a rate increase from the city of Little Rock each year. Y'all got a really good rate from the city of Little Rock when compared to other landfills like Waste Management Tupon landfill or Republic Services Tupon landfill. Now, we did take a little bit of look at that. The benefit of going to the City of Little Rock landfill is the hauling distance from Maumelle to the City of Little Rock. If you went to Tupon landfill or to the Republic Service landfill, you would have a longer haul distance. And certainly those landfills are busier than the City of Little Rock landfill. You probably have some wait time. I know that the waste management landfill in Jacksonville is very busy, and there's usually a line to get in there. So I don't think it makes sense. There's not a savings there in rate nor in transportation. So if you don't mind going to page 8. Right there. Up just a little bit. Okay. So this is not a table, but this is just some highlighted information on y'all's tipping fees right now. And it shows that it is $16.53 a ton. And then with the state and district fees, $3.10 a ton, total of $19.63 per ton. Now you remember the $15.50 that I talked about earlier, that's a per customer. So don't get those confused. This is a ton price, that's a per customer price. And then the paragraph below this talks about the contract that y'all have with the City of Little Rock and how they can adjust their rates. Like just to give you an example, I believe the consumer price index for all items category, which they use, was 1.06 for 2023. So that's a 6%, and it was a fraction more than that increase. So over the previous year's total, and they have the right to look at that. And the contract, y'all's contract with them is in the appendices of this document if you want to look at that. So further down on that table, and going back to my original opening statement, we looked at curbside solid waste pickup, we looked at the leaf or yard waste collection, and we looked at recycling. So this next section, section 4, the City of Maumelle wanted us to take a look at leaf collection at the curb. So now y'all pick up leaves as yard waste at the curbside in bags. This took a look at the cost and the viability of picking up the leaves with an automated vacuum system. Like City of North Rock does that and City of Sherwood does that. So I got the data together and we looked at that. And so the first thing that needs to be remembered and thought about is it will not eliminate yard waste pickup. There will continue to be yard waste pickup even if there's loose leaf pickup with vacuum trucks. So that will not go away. The loose leaf pickup from vacuum trucks is a window of October to February or something like that. And if y'all have seen it, it's a truck that goes by and people rake their leaves or blow their leaves to the edge of the street, and there's a pickup day and they try to collect the leaves on those particular streets or that route on those days. It doesn't always work out. There's a lot of factors there. There's weather, and so they're like anything. There are some issues with loose leaf pickup. A lot of people love it. A lot of people hate it. And this study didn't pick either one of those because of that. It just looked at the cost. So the loose leaf collection pickup, since y'all don't have that equipment, we had to look at purchasing new equipment and coming up with a rate for that. So there's 2 devices to do that: a truck leaf vacuum pickup or a trailer mounted leaf vacuum. They're the same equipment essentially. One is a little bit smaller and you pull it behind another truck and you have an operator that sits on it, and then you have a operator that helps, get the leaves in the machine. The truck mounted is a driver driving the truck and then a helper sucking up the leaves. And the city of North Little Rock, I know they have at least 3 trucks. They have a lot of maintenance issues with that, so they have some redundancy in their fleet. We only looked at 1 truck, only 1, and I'll go through the cost of that. So if you were to have a breakdown, you miss a day or 2, or however long it takes to repair it. So on the bottom of page 9, there, up just a little there, the cost of a leaf vacuum truck is $300,000. And the cost of the extra 2 laborers, because remember, you're still picking up yard waste, you're still picking up curbside solid waste, 2 extra laborers, and this is just for a period of months that we looked at. We didn't look at a period of 2 extra laborers for an entire year. We just looked at them for a few months. So in all, the cost for the truck and the labor in the truck being financed over 5 years at 7% was about $1.43 per customer per month extra. That's a 12-month year. So that would cover the cost and a crew. And when I was talking with other cities that do loose leaf pickup, they expressed to me the difficulty in finding a crew for a short amount of time. People that do want to work want to have a solid job for 12 months. So that's something to consider. On the next page is the price for a trailer mounted truck and crew, and if you run through that, same thing, financing that for 5 years at 7%, it's roughly 70 cents per customer per month. So a little bit less, but I was also told that you might need to consider, it's a trial and error thing, you might end up with an additional laborer on the truck mounted, or on the trailer mounted, sorry. So this may be a little bit low by a laborer. So the costs, and I have these options laid out in the back of the report, are $1.43 for the truck mounted at 70 cents per customer for the trailer mounted. The next section and the next thing we looked at was the collection of the recyclables. And right now, the city of Maumelle collects those recyclables in an 18-gallon tote at the curb. And so we wanted to look at, well, what would it be to have Waste Management come in and collect that, provide each customer with a 64-gallon cart, pick those wastes up and take them to the recycler. So we looked at that. I talked with the Waste Management, and they gave me a budget on that. And that budget is for the carts and the pickup and the delivery, transportation, all in, $6.08 per house per month. But then when you back out the cost for a crew, and talking with the sanitation department about this kind of operation, what would we expect we would get? Because obviously if you're not picking up 18-gallon totes every day, you've got some extra excess capacity. And what would that look like? You would probably put them to work doing something else, but that looks like one crew, and that would save approximately $1.70 per customer per month. So the net cost for Waste Management, if you want to look at that, would be around $4.38 per customer per month. So a question that probably comes to your mind is, well, what do we make in recyclables when we pick it up at the curb and we take it to the recycling center? And not much, $7 or $8 or $10,000 a year is all the revenue that you get from those recyclables. So it's not a large amount compared to y'all's revenue number. So if you don't mind, Tina, going to page 12. Well, let's do this. If you don't mind, let's go to Appendix C, the table in the very back. It's the last table. Yeah, keep going. Oh, let's talk about that for 1 second. Appendix A is the current rate ordinance that y'all have, and then the next slide after that is y'all's deal with the city of Little Rock. I don't really need to talk about the current rate ordinance. It's been there for a long time, and we know what it is. But the city of Little Rock's, y'all's deal with the city of Little Rock is meaningful to know that it's spelled out how they can charge you extra each year. It's in there. That's it right there. That's it right there. So you can see about midway down in that first paragraph, the proposed price will be extended for 5 years and may be adjusted annually by the United States Implicit Price Deflator and the U.S. Gross National Product published March 31st, which that number is the Consumer Price Index, all categories number, very comparable. So now we can go to the last. I'm sorry. That's that table I showed you earlier, just with your current rate. So this table spells out a few things that I'd like to point out. It's a deeper dive into the revenue and expenses, and it shows the same as that other table that was just 3 lines that had revenue, operating expenses, and net. But this takes a little bit deeper dive into what the revenue is, staying fairly flat since 2020, and you can look at the sanitation fees collection. Top line is down a couple $100,000, but staying pretty flat. Miscellaneous income is higher in 2023. I'm not exactly sure I ever figured that out, but it is. The late collection fees stay pretty consistent. Y'all got some good customers. There's probably the same ones that may be doing that. Recycling, you can see, is zero, or $7,000, so it's small. And then there was the transfer of yard waste number is very consistent. So your revenue numbers are staying pretty consistent within 1.3 to 1.2 to 1.3, and you see their 3-year average is 1.27 million. And then so the next category down are the use of solid waste funds, which operating expenses, salaries, vehicle maintenance, services, tipping fees which I'll pay to the city of Little Rock and others. And then other operating expenses and some capital expenditures that have been pretty good on. They remain pretty consistent. But overall, if you look on the column on the right, 1.555 is the average 3-year number, and so that gives you an average 3-year loss or deficit in revenue and expenses of $285,000. So if you don't mind going back to the page page 12. down just a little bit, there, perfect, thank you. So, these are the options that this study, zeroed in on and suggests for y'all's consideration. Option one is a $6.64 increase per customer per month. So it would change the rate from $15.50 per month to $22.14. And if you look back at the table where I compared y'all's rates, you all would still be below the other cities in y'all's area for that rate. Option two would be considering letting Waste Management pick up y'all's recyclable waste and handle that for $4.38 per customer. And the noteworthy thing there is that each customer would get a 64-gallon cart along with that, and that may enhance or increase recycling in the community. So that would, if you added that $4.38 option on top of option one, that would increase the per month cost to $26.52 per month per customer. Option three is considering an increase on for the leaf vacuum truck or the trailer mounted vacuum. And then the fourth option is I think really important as well, is the council consider annual adjustments by appropriate consumer price index category, or at least Maumelle should take a look every 2 years at a minimum at where y'all, what y'all's operating revenue or what the revenue and operating expenses look like. Questions? Did I cover everything, Mayor?
I think you did. Doug, I have a question for you. I feel like we've looked at this so much that I caught something as we were going through it. Option 2 on page 12, or I'm sorry, option 3 on page 12 lists
120, it should be
vacuum
140.
truck at 120, whereas on page 9,
Yeah.
it had
143. I got that as I was reading it, and that's a typo or a mistake on my part. I take credit for that. Should be 143.
And then I think you've covered a whole lot. I've asked you 1,000 questions throughout this process, so we'll go ahead and open up the floor to the council if you all have any questions. Just a reminder, there's nothing being voted on. There's no ordinances, resolutions, motions. Now is just a good opportunity to ask questions that you have. Another thing that is important to note is at some point, if the council decides to run an ordinance, we definitely want to talk to Mike. This was heavily focused on the cost and the operations. There are other factors than just money to take into consideration. If, for example, we were to do the leaf vacuum truck, how does that impact the department? And those are all sort of discussions that we would have with Mike and his crew at that time, and certainly things that should be considered. Councilmember Gardner?
Thank you, sir. Doug, thank you for breaking this down so well. I really appreciate the report that you put together. I guess a couple of questions about other cities in central Arkansas, or even outside of that you've had experience with. We obviously haven't increased ours in going on 19 years. That's a long time for prices to stay the same. In looking at the rates that other cities charge, I noticed a few of them were flat fees. It looks like maybe they just came up with a number, like Conway 26, and some others were just different. Are other cities using the CPI to adjust, or are they just kind of looking at them every couple of years and coming up with a new rate?
Yeah, I think they look at them every couple of years. Now, if they're in communication with Regional Recycling District in Little Rock, Craig Douglas's organization, they're probably suggesting, the Regional Recycling District is suggesting that they look at some sort of CPI adjustment, because that's in everybody's rate. If you make a deal with a landfill, a private landfill, their rates are going up every year. They even have, upon their rate increase, the fuel surcharge increase. So I can't imagine that any city takes a very long, vacation or break from a rate, looking at their rates.
So 19 years is probably too long to look, yeah.
Yeah.
So with looking at going from what we pay now to what was proposed, even just with option one, I think it was it $21, something like that? 22.14. While it's only, a little less than $7, would you recommend doing that all at once or phasing it in?
Well, that's a very good question. So some cities do phase in over, maybe 3 years, bump, bump, bump. And that's a good option. It's worth considering. And it would probably be a deeper dive into look at the finances and see where, if you took that 6 and divided by 3 and came up with 2, would the $2 increase immediately get you back to zero? Because if you read this report, what I suggest that Maumelle needs to do is have an operation reserve. Now, going back to what I was talking about, the American Water Works Association, American Public Works Association, they always recommend that a waterworks or a wastewater utility have an operating reserve to cover expenses that are unknown. Chemical costs go up, up, up. Electricity goes up. Labor goes up. So they recommend an operating reserve that's based on their operating expenses. And sometimes it can be as much as 25%. So what I looked at for this, I looked at and I talked about is y'all establishing an operating reserve of approximately $300,000. And that was based on just looking at the major components of y'all's expenses, y'all's tipping fees, y'all's labor, and y'all's maintenance. And I think that would get you to zero. There'll be some years you may not use all of that operating reserve. There'll be some years that you go past it. So will that $2 get you to that operating reserve? Is probably pretty close.
Would you have any advice on which method you would choose, phasing it in or just doing it all at once? When I look at it, I see, a little less than $7 a month. I don't think anything of it, but I know that there are people that do. And
They
over the
do.
course of a year, that's $84.
That's meaningful. Yeah.
It's so we have to take that into consideration. But I
Sure.
also think having my trash picked up for 75 cents a day I can't believe it'd only be that much. Even if we did increase it, right? And they come by my house 3 times a week to pick up stuff. So
So my experience is, depending on the size of the community, is really the line where it gets phased in and where it gets dropped on them. And then, how long has this been? Y'all got a little bit bigger bite because it's been so long. The smaller communities, they don't think their residents can afford a water increase or a sewer increase, even if it's, 75 cents a month. So they may phase that in. Certainly towns of, population of 300 to 500, they kind of ease into that. It depends also on where they are, how negative they really are. This is, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, cities across Arkansas are below the line on needing to collect revenue for services. But so I don't have a good answer, but I would not think this is a bad idea either. Okay. to phase it in.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Mosley?
Mr. Ford, you did a great job.
Well, thank you.
This is the kind of subject where some people drift off, but you did it very clear, and your presentation is good and all that, so you're good at what you do. Thank you. I was going to ask the mayor, has our tipping fees, have they been increasing them? Has Little Rock been increasing them?
Yes, they increase it every year.
Okay, is it that full CPI?
The CPI, yes.
Okay, it's full amount, all right. And the other thing I was going to remark on was the recyclable. if I understand you correctly, if we stay with the method we're currently doing, it would only be it would basically stay the same, as we are now. But if we go to recycle the big cans and all that, it would be, $4 more.
Yes, sir.
So, I'm guessing we'll probably stick with what we've got because it's cheaper and because the residents kind of prefer those little tubs over another big trash can. We've always tried to stay away from, urban clutter as much as possible, so those little tubs a lot of times just get stored in garages and they just come out on trash days, so you don't see them.
Yeah.
So, anyway, those are my comments. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. One thing I wanted to note, we did not look at the option of having the city of Maumelle collect a big bin. So the limits of that examination was if we're gonna change recycling away from the tubs into a big bin, we want Waste Management to look at it. And the reasons for that, just so that you all kind of get an understanding, is we would have to buy about 7,500 carts at about just under $500,000, and you're looking at an extra truck with a lead time of, I don't know, what are we waiting, 3 years now, Mike,
Yeah.
for trucks? But about 325,000. So the operational capital requirements for us to handle it in-house is close to $1 million right off the bat. We'll hear the financial report here in a minute, but that would kind of wipe away the reserve fund that we have right there. Councilmember Shin?
I know Little Rock picks up every other week on recycling. Have we looked at other options on changing our route? I mean, not the physical route, but the time of collection on things like that?
We did not look at that, but you're correct. Little Rock does pick up every other week, and that's kind of the operation across the recycling business altogether. Is that people just, I mean, it's based on volume, how fast they can fill those carts up. Every other week, there's carts with their lids open, they're completely full, and then there's some that are not even on the
I
street.
fill 2 to 3 of the little blue buckets every week in our household, and there's just the 2 of us, so.
Yeah, yeah.
I would love to have the big bucket, but.
Yeah, yeah.
At $400,000, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And just a heads up, the request for bigger buckets is a fairly frequent request that I hear. And so I figured we'd just include that examination in and at this time. So just to kind of, while we're looking at that all there. Were there any additional questions? I don't see any. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For the presentation and for the handouts, and for working with us so diligently over the last several months.
Well, thanks for the opportunity, and I'll make the change that we noted and send a refreshed version tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
And then for the city council, I assume this will come up at another meeting. We may go ahead and put it on as an agenda item and then get the actual report in the council packet and sort of disseminated to begin those talks. With that, we will move on to the approval of the minutes for the July 1st regular meeting. Y'all received a copy of that in the council packet. I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. If there is none, I'd entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved.
I've got a motion and a second to adopt the minutes. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. With that, we'll move on to public comment. I do have some public comment cards here. And I'll just take them in the order that I have them. For those that are here, please come on down, state your name, address, and then you have 3 minutes, please. The first one, the lucky winner to go first is Edwin Barker. Come on down.
I am Edwin Barker. I live at 15 Caddo Court. in Osage Falls. And my wife and I have lived there for 24 years now. And we've enjoyed living in Maumelle, quite frankly. We're originally from Kansas, but that doesn't matter anymore. Our property backs up to Samantha Lane, which is a private drive, I believe, and also Odom Boulevard. And when we first moved in, right behind the house, along Odom, the city took that ditch and rebuilt it. And that rebuild, I'm not sure whether it helped or it hurt, but essentially, all the water that comes down off of Odom Boulevard and out of front of Osage Falls entrance comes down that street, it turns and goes down the private drive through my backyard. Now, when it rains, I'm sorry, and there's also a culvert coming from across the street that dumps water from, I guess, the lake or the area across the street. So, let's see, I made some notes. After they put that, after they fixed that ditch, it took about a year of rainfall to completely wipe it out. So now it's just a free-flowing ditch that turns and comes through my backyard. Now, that water and all those leaves and anything that comes down through there goes right on down behind my neighbor's house and the next neighbor's house, and then I believe it turns and goes underneath a couple of folks that are here to talk as well. And all that stuff, I try to keep my yard clean. I try to manage the area on the private drive that is not mine. I've done it for 24 years. I believe that private drive, there's like 4 to 6 feet that belongs to the neighbor across the street, and I've managed it all that time. I pick up the leaves, I grind them up, I do whatever I can to keep it from going downstream. But every time it rains, I get upstream sewage, I guess I'd call it. And then what I don't end up with, the neighbors downstream do. And the basis of my explanation is to support some of the other folks that are gonna come up here and talk, that it's backing up down there, and some of those drainage areas are plugged, and they need to be fixed. So, my time's up. I
Thank you, sir. Next up is Alma Jean Porsche. Hopefully I said that properly. Porsche. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Alma Jean Porsche. My husband and I, Roy Porsche, live at 3 Shannon Lane. We've only been there a year, and we didn't realize that there was a private drive until we got in the neighborhood and noticed how the water runs down the hill all the way down the street of Shannon. And we at number 3, so therefore we have benches in front of our home, and we noticed how corroded it's beginning to look, and the trees and everything. So the water something needs to be done about the water, because it's gonna really mess up everything. And we've only been there a year. We didn't know that there was a water issue there until now. If we had known that, we probably would not have moved there. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a sudden realization I need reading glasses. Mr. James and Miss Dolores Gouge. You're up. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. It's probably more so my handwriting is a little interesting.
Or both.
My name is Jay Coleman. I'm actually an attorney here in Little Rock. but I'm on behalf of the Gouges who live at 9 Shanna Lane. And the reason that we're here today is because there is a ditch, a drainage ditch that was created by the city of Maumelle. They've been living there for 25 years. The ditch hasn't been there that long. I believe the ditch has been there maybe 7 or 8 years.
Ditch been there the entire time.
Oh, it's been there the entire time, excuse me. However, over recent years, the ditch, the water has been diverted into their yard, and it's causing holes in their yard. The foundation is not as sturdy as it once was due to this diversion, and because of the diversion, they're not able to sell their home and move. The realtor who's actually here today has stated that because of the issues that the diverted water is causing, they cannot even put the home on the market. And the Gouges have reached out to the city to try to figure out what they could do or what they should do. The city did come to speak with their neighbor, who's here today as well, who lives at 11 Shanna Lane, but no one has come to speak with the Gouges about their issue. So we're here today to try to determine what is it that they need to do or what we need to do in order to get this problem rectified.
Got you. Thank you. So we clearly didn't know anyone was coming. We're not prepared to give presentations, but this is a great opportunity for you to let us know when we're done. I do have a couple comments I can say, but I think I still have at least another 3 comment cards on this issue. I'm assuming they're on this issue.
They are.
Thank you. James Mackey. Come on down. Name and address for the record, please, sir.
James Mackey. I've been in the neighborhood for 22 years. And the Gouges are my friends. And I just want to say that I know how they have labored, physically labored, and I know how they labored in their yard and everything, and hired people over the years to help them with the drainage problem that is happening, that is coming out of down from Osage, and the last neighbor put concrete up and made him a runoff in front of the Poche's in them house, and that rushes the water from the road from Odom down through going through that drainage down there, and it causes an awful impact. You can imagine that when you have water like that, there's more mosquitoes and a lot of other things and a lot of debris that moves that way. And then I've seen the road itself, the ditch is eroding, and some of the trees are leaning. And the good city of Maumelle made me cut a lot of stuff down with being a private drive, and I had to haul a lot of stuff off myself personally because I didn't want to get fined. And but it's a lot of things that I believe that if we put attention to it, we can that it will stop happening like that. People would be able to sell that property. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Next up is that Johnson?
Yes.
Jarice? Janice?
Mayor and council members, thank you for letting me speak. I'm here as the realtor. I was the realtor for the Gouges. But what has happened is there was heavy rain back in April. You all remember all that rain we got. And Ms. Gould sent me a picture, sent me several pictures, and I went by, and water was up to their porch. We have a sole property disclosure, which I had to update, because now I know that there is excessive water. And being a realtor, I have to inform any other realtor or agent that comes about the water. You would want to know if it was happening before you bought. So they suggested that we pull it off the market, and I agreed after I talked to my broker, John Belden, about it. By the way, Janice Johnson, 303 North James, Jacksonville. Okay. But I can't sell it. into that issue. It's fixed. I had agents to view it, and they asked me what's going on with that pipe on the side of the house. Why is there a hole over there? And of course, I have to disclose. I hope this helps them get that fixed. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you all for being ethical. I bet Ms. Porche would have preferred to have some sort of notice when she purchased her home. I don't know anything about the conditions, whether or not they should. I'm not making a legal statement about the prior owner's ethical duties to list that, but that sort of disclosure is always helpful when someone's buying a home. Last card I have is from Ronald P. Lewis? Lice. I'm staying consistent.
Nobody gets that right. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for listening to me and listening to all my neighbors.
If we could get your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name's Ron Pleiss,
Thank
live at 11 Shannon Lane, Maumelle. I'm a proud citizen of Maumelle and a big advocate for Maumelle. Let me start there. We've had this wastewater safety issue in our neighborhood. We've had the storm water drain collapse between 9 and 11 Shannon Lane. It was a concrete basin that was there for who knows how long, and who put it in, I don't know. But that happened about April. Now it's gone from about a 4-foot wide hole to about a 10-foot wide hole, and it's creeping towards foundations. We've got electrical and plumbing now exposed in that hole. So it's become a safety concern. Even the wildlife that come through, we have deer that come through there. We're liable to lose a deer in that hole. It's that big. There was some concerns initially that it was a private road. I bought the house at 11 Shannon Lane in 2002. At that time, there was a ditch in my backyard. I would not have bought that house except that the city agreed to fix the drainage problem across that. And I have that document from the closing for my house where the city said they were going to do it. So that's a done issue. The city at that time did an easement that runs down the street, runs under the road, and crosses my backyard and goes out to the Maumelle Golf Course water supply. And then they have a drainage that goes down to their lake, and that feeds water for them. I've been in contact with Mike from Public Works, and thank you, Mike. I appreciate Mike immensely. He's come out and he's been very receptive to me. He's working this issue, but there's just no timeline or an update when we're going to get it fixed. And that's the big issue, how long we're going to have to live with this. And I know it's a problem. I talked to Mike again today, and Mike, he's well aware of the project. He says the city is going to do it. He just doesn't know when. And it just depends on time when you can get to it. And we would love you to make this a priority, because it is a problem. Okay, water from both sides of South Odom are channeled down an inadequate hole, as you've heard people speak about. And it's inadequately comes down, and it comes to there's an open ditch that runs down there. Trees are there. Some people throw leaves into it from across the road. Most people take really good care of it, and we try to keep that ditch going the best we can. But with the collapse, the water is unbearable. We have a flood that goes across the backyard. I put in a drain in my backyard to try to help alleviate the problem. I've got a drain at the Gooch's fence that we try to channel that water back out as fast as we can, but we're not winning. The longer this goes, the bigger the hole gets, the bigger the safety concern, and the more expensive the problem's going to be eventually. So, and utilities, like I talked about, the utilities are exposed. So I would ask the city to create a better and more permanent fix as expediently as possible. Thank you for listening to me, and thank you, Mike, for helping.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming out. If the council will, I clearly don't have all the documents right in front of me, and typically we use public comment as an opportunity for residents to give us information, but I can give y'all a little bit of my understanding of an update if the council would like that and allows. Thank you. So, I believe issues on this road, this is not a new issue. I know that for a fact. I think it was one of my first, months as city attorney. I think I was out there with Mayor Watson walking around and making assessments of, trying to make determinations of what was public water, what's private water. It's a private, street, lane. It's a private lane. Up until, I think, sir, it must have been some of the documents that you provided, we lost track that there was a city easement at all and some city-installed drains. So we've been talking about this for years and years and years. I think only recently we found out there was an easement, and recently, I mean, in the last 6 to 8 weeks, Mike, does that sound right? So, last 6 weeks or so, found out that there was an easement and a city-installed infrastructure that is failing. And so as soon as we found that out, I authorized it and proved it to go forward. This always sounds horrible when I say it, but really, right now we're focusing on the drainage projects where we have water entering and flooding people's homes. We're then focusing on those projects that are degrading fast, and we have a few emergency projects going in. I will say that drainage infrastructure that is there, we now know is ours. We plan to fix it. I don't know that solves all the water issues. We think that there's gonna be a lot more issues other than that are in the private subdivision or the private street and private drainage that is just not cities and that we cannot fix. But we now know that specific easement and infrastructure that was built is ours and will be repaired for that. This is never overly helpful because this is a neighborhood that has been built, but we have encountered, this is not the only private subdivision or private streets that have road failures or drainage issues. What we have done as the governing body over the last several years is focus on, there are still some private streets being built with drainage, but we are basically requiring them to build it fully to city standards, no shortcuts, no halfway done things. Then for those areas that are bigger, we are requiring something stronger than a POA, an improvement district, or some sort of mechanism where they have actual authority to upkeep those. That doesn't help y'all, but it is a problem that we recognize and that we are working on. If you want, we're gonna talk about a few other things. You guys could pull Mike out and holler at him. Really, really the timeline is on him, and we are really trying to focus on those drainage projects that are more severe. This is still at the top of the list, and Mike, I'm not sure if you have any timelines or anything along those lines that you'd care to come give?
I talked to Mr. Wise today. He was asking about a timeline. I don't have a timeline right now, just due to other drainage projects that you mentioned that are more important, houses flooding. This is a job that I'm kind of trying to figure out if we need to do this in-house or if we need to budget it in next year and have a contractor do it because it's in a tight area. There's a lot of utilities, and it will tie my crews up for at least 2 months just getting this done. So when we're pulling our crews away for that long, other things
So
get
Mike,
kind of put on hold.
let me ask you this: if you want to look at having another contractor or something, which if this is a 2-month project is probably prudent. If you get that pricing information to us, don't wait until the end of the year. Just give it to us, and we'll disseminate it. And I have no clue if it's if you're saying a 2-month project and a contractor, it's probably not a $5,000 deal, but. Depending on the cost, we can bring it to the council and they can make a determination as to whether they'll do a budget resolution or we'll just build it in or whatnot. But just don't sit on that waiting for the budget.
Right.
Which is contrary to what I often say, except in emergencies. I hate mid-year budget resolutions. But thank you all for coming out. Yes, sir?
May I add a comment?
You sure may.
Thank you. Jay Coleman again. I just wanted to note, because there were two things that you stated about pretty much about the time frame, but I wanted to put on the record that the Gujas have been dealing with this flooding issue since they've lived in their home. They've been there for 25 years. But more so, I wanted to address the structural comment that you made. And I do have pictures I could show you today to show that the hole in between theirs and Mr. Plyce. Mr. Plyce's home is huge. It goes up under his fence, and it is coming towards the Guja's home, which could cause structural damage. And I know that that was one of the concerns that you had as far as other people, but they're about to be in the same posture.
Sure. So I think I've seen. Well, I know I've seen a lot of pictures. I've been out on this location, though not in a while. If you have that, get it to us. And obviously, if something major is about to happen, we're trying to do it. One of the things we have a home in Country Club of Arkansas that maybe 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, posted a picture of a hole in their yard that was about this big on SeeClickFix. It's all public. I think you can go see it. About a week or two later, the hole was about this big. A few weeks later, they had 2 sheets of plywood over it, and now those plywood are sunken down. You can probably park a Volkswagen Bug in their front yard. So that's a very quickly moving problem that is about to undercut a road. So when I talk about those sort of structural things, I haven't seen yours. We've talked about this street in the city engineer meeting a whole lot. So if you have that information that gives us something saying that there's about to be a catastrophic failure, I understand this is probably not the best answer you want if you're trying to list your home. Saying you have to wait a little bit or a while is not what you want to hear, but it's the honest answer. If it comes between a road that is quickly about to fail, I bet you could literally, unless Mike has fixed it, park a Volkswagen Bug in a yard that had no hole a few weeks ago. So we're battling failing storm drains in a number of places across the city. Go ahead and get us that information, and we'll assess it.
Where do I send it?
You can send it to Mike. It'd probably be the best person. I'm not sure Mike's email address because I just type in Mike. I think it's mike@maumelle.org. Is that right? M. Hogan, MHogan, @maumelle.org.
All right. I will. I'll send these pictures over, and I do apologize for not having some sort of letter. I did call the city to see if I needed to send a letter to you guys, but they said that I didn't. But I think it might have been a bit better if I would have.
I've probably read letters. I think you've sent letters to the city or city attorney, or I feel like
I'm sure
seen
someone
some
has.
sort of lawyer's letters or prior counsel. Okay. So.
All right. Well, I'll send that stuff over.
Yes, sir. If you'd like to come on down to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, please.
Well, Mayor Norris and council, thank you very much. I didn't put a card in. I apologize. My name is Brian Loeb, and I live at 7 Channel Lane. Been
How
a
do you spell
resident.
Loeb?
Loeb, Loe, B as in boy. And I've been a resident for 20-something years. Love Maumelle. Great place to live. There is that issue there, and as a matter of fact, on the way over here, the person that lives right in front of us in Osage Falls, I think it's 12 Cattle Court, she was out there kind of looking at that area too, and she was saying that the past few times that she's had rainstorms, her basement has been flooding the way that water's coming down through Osage Falls. So I don't know if y'all are aware of that or not, but that's someone else. I mean, they're on higher ground too. You wouldn't think that there'd be any flooding right there, but she said her basement is getting flooded every time we have these torrential rains. It is kind of a nuisance right there, that whole street, the culvert.
What was that address again?
Let me grab it.
Or if you could just give it to Mike or
Yeah.
something on your way out, make sure it's one of the ones on our list. We have a number of properties that we're looking at.
Okay, perfect. It is, the way that there's so much I think our easement is actually like 6 feet from the street, being a private lane, and that's something hopefully down the road we can maybe switch to where it may be a public street. I don't know that process, but I'm working on that right now. But I think we own about 6 feet from the street itself. And then the people in Osage Falls own 6 feet from their fence line. So that whole area right there in the middle where that ditch runs, it doesn't belong to us. It doesn't belong to the people in Osage Falls. I think it belongs to the city. And just having that culvert and that drainage cleaned out, I think can help a lot with these issues. And we really appreciate all that you can do for us, because it is a nuisance for the gooches. Seeing video of some of the rainfall, some of these torrential downpours, I mean, the water is crazy, running so fast and so deep. At some point, it is going to be an issue with your foundation. So, once again, thank you for your time. I appreciate everything y'all do, and thanks again for your attention to this. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all for coming. You're more than welcome to stay for the whole joy of the rest of the council meeting. You get an award for sitting through the sanitation rate study as it is, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is it possible for me to say something before?
Yes, please, come up to the mic, name and address for the record, please.
My name is Dolores Googe, okay? I'm sure the city and Public Works is tired of hearing from me. I've been dealing with this for 25 years. I take care of what I have, and when I see water and erosion disrupting it, and the city has not come out, Public Works have not come out to talk to me, not once. I'm disappointed. We're retired military. We moved here from Hawaii. Marmel was told to us it was a good city to live in, but y'all have proven it wrong. I take pride in what I have, and when I see people destroy it, act like they don't care about it, that bothers me. That puts a bad taste in my mouth. I am disappointed. My foundation of my home looked like it wants to collapse. And if I have called the city, and if I have called the Public Works, seemed like someone would have cared enough to come out in 25 years and look at what Miss Googe and Mr. Googe is talking about. I'm a type person, you have to show me. You can make your mouth say anything. I'm disappointed. I want to go home. I've traveled with my husband for 43 years with the military. And we want to go home to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, which is now Liberty. The city of Marmel has not stepped up to take care of my earthly home. I take pride in my yard because that's me and God's time. And the water has destroyed it. The erosion has destroyed it. And no one has come to me. I have called the city. I have called Public Works. I have talked to Mike. No one has come to my driveway and knocked on my door. But someone did come and put a citation on my door for walking my dog on my private road. You can take the time to do that, but you can't take the time to come and talk to me so we can walk around and look at what's going on. I'm through with it, because I'm going to give it to God and He's going to fix it. And when He fixes it, can't nobody straighten it out, okay? And I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you all both for your service.
Yes, sir.
Next up is the financial statement review. Beatrice, come on down.
Well, after all of this, I'm going to give you some good news here. I mean, because we have good numbers as of June.
Can you sound more excited when you say? Can you sound a little more excited when you say that, please?
Yeah, well,
No.
I cannot jump much now, but I feel sad for the lady. Anyway, in page 1, I'm going to review anything that has a variance more than $100,000, just to be clear here. In the property taxes, the collections, if you recall, were very slow at the beginning of the year. Now we are okay as of June, and we have collected $124,000 more than last year. If you go to the city and county sales taxes lines, collected during 2024 are still lower than in 2023, but has gone down to $78,000 now, year to date. So last month was $110,000. So if you remember, sales tax is not in our hands. I hope to recover a little bit during the last months. In the line of planning and permits department, Here is very interesting, Mayor and all, because it has increased in $65,000 year to date, because we have collected $184,000 year to date in building permits, meaning 40% more than in 2023. So building permits has increased the line and the revenue in that line. Investing earnings, you continue to be good for the city in 2024. And the last line, miscellaneous revenue. This is just a reminder that we have the insurance received for the claims year to date. It is a net of $634,000, and the different departments are already working on fixing the roofs and the buildings that were damaged. Also, we have an extra income for $110,000 for 2 grants that the police obtained this year and was used to cover a portion of the cost of the security system cameras and to buy some vehicles. If you go to expenditures, as it was well mentioned every month, and we continue, police, fire, and public works had salary increases. Salaries plus benefits will impact a lot during all the year if we compare with 2023. But the big difference here, if you notice, is in service expenditures. First, the audit, computer maintenance, and insurance expenditures are higher in 2024. But what we did here this month in June, as promised, was the operating transfers approved in budget were processed. There was a transfer for general fund to capital improvement funds for $3.2 million. It is $180,000 for engine 1 and 2 and a tower truck capital investment, and $3.1 million for a training facility. In capital expenditures, we have the Parks Department. We made all the payments for the pickleball complex construction in 2024 for $740,000. There was a software conversion for police department for $52,000. We had bought police vehicles for $173,000, and we have improved all the camera systems and door access for the police department, the senior center, and the community center. If you go to page 2, this is where we can see the fund balance. As of June 2024, we have a fund of $9.99 million after operating transfers. So the requirement for the fund is $4.7 million. That is the 20% of the revised budget operational expenses. So the fund balance is good. It is above requirements for $5.2 million still. If we go to page number 3, we have the street fund. First, we look the state turnback is higher, and it is compensated by the city street aid program revenue. So we are okay in this street revenue. Then if you go to expenditures, we also have here in the street department an operational transfer that was approved in budget. It is a transfer from a street fund to Club Manor Corridor for $1.2 million. There was also the increase on salaries. It's also reflected in this line. And in the capital expenditures, we have path improvements, street overlays, and some stripping for $480,000, a ramp truck, and other street equipment for $247,000. The fund balance here as of June is 2024 is $4 million after the operational transfer. Here, I just want to mention something that the guy that did study mentions, we need to be sure that we keep the 20%, even if the obligatory fund, the 20% is the general fund, probably we can consider that in the other two funds. So the 20% of the operational expenses will be $585,000, and we have $4 million. So if you notice, we are okay here. If we go to the page number 4, it is our sanitation fund. We already listened about the results of the fund because it is a true statement here. The sanitation expenditures, they look lower than previous year, but the personnel has not been complete. We have been borrowing people from the public jobs, and I will need to make an adjustment to transfer the salaries to this fund. But since we are in a loss, and I was waiting a little bit, so we have so far a loss for year to date of $100,000, and we have not even make a lot of investments here yet. So if we go to all the investments that we have for the capital expenditures, as you can imagine, we were very low, and we do not have enough funds to do this. We will have to borrow money from the general fund or for some other place. The fund balance on this fund is $650,000 as of today, as of June, sorry. 20% of the operating expenses, this is different because 20% just represents $349,000. You could say it's okay. No, it's not okay because we are already in loss. We have previous losses that we need to recover. So we really need to move fast on the sanitation adjustment, whatever you guys decide. And the page number 5 is the police and fire fund informative data just for your eyes. We have some financial updates. We started the audit this week, and we are going to have the auditors physically in the office next Monday for 3 weeks. So we'll be a little bit busy here. But they already have most of the data from us, except what they will be requesting during the audit process. We also review with banks the rates 23-24, and we were able to keep the 3% of the investing checking accounts that we have, and we were able to keep the 5% in the CDs that we have annual investing. That's all what I have for today.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Gardner.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Souza, I'm going to go back to the sanitation.
Yes.
Something that I didn't realize when comparing revenue that we've received over the last several years, we were consistently like around 1.25 million in revenues. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at the rate study
Yes.
that the gentleman gave us. How did we lose 20% of revenue in 1 year? I'm talking about 2023. We dropped down from 1.25 to 1 million, and now we're on target to do about the same for this year.
Well, the year-to-date revenue that you have here is as of June.
Right. Oh, I understand that. But I'm asking, going back into the past, how did we go from 20, 21, and 22, where we were bringing in 1.2 million plus, and then last year, sanitation only brought in 1 million. How did we lose 20% of revenue?
Because the increases on salaries.
No, I'm talking about revenue, specifically revenue.
Specifically in revenue, I do not see a lot of increases in the last months, in the last years on revenue.
I guess my point is, we have like a fixed number of residents that we collect revenue from, and that's growing. We've not lost 20% of our population. And so I'm asking...
How it could happen? There are things that could happen that they don't pay. That could be one thing. But the more important could be miscellaneous revenue that we may recover in any of the years. And I can dig a little bit on that the previous years. But remember that whenever you have miscellaneous revenue, like insurance,
And I'm not
claims,
even looking at miscellaneous revenue. I'm looking
well,
at the
I don't
specific-
have the split.
Yeah, and
Uh-huh.
I'm throwing this at
Yeah,
you.
no,
but
no,
I
it's
just-
okay, but I can
As
look
I'm looking at this, I'm like, this is a line item specifically for sanitation fees, and I'm just wondering how that dropped off by 20%.
What I'm thinking, and Mike will help me here, but I'm not sure if what we were recovering from the sanitation when we recycle, then we are paying fee for the wasting the recycle, and we have a net revenue measure.
The net revenue.
Mhm.
Let us get that, a more comprehensive report to you for that.
And it may be that we're recognizing the revenue differently
Yes,
somewhere, but
it could be recognized net revenue from the
the total
recycle.
solid waste revenues are off by about $200,000 from where they were the previous years, even when you add everything up. So, I mean, that really exacerbated our loss last year when we lost 482,000.
Yeah.
You know, if we had.
Just definitely could be the way that we are recognizing the revenue, because we recognize net revenue.
Okay.
But we will go there, and the miscellaneous revenue also impacts. So I will get back to you, Shadha.
Okay.
Okay, and
Thank
to
you,
all
ma'am.
of you on this.
Thank you. Councilmember Mosley?
A good question, Mr. Gardner. Let's see, you pretty much gave us a status of the audit. Sounds like the auditors are out here and everybody's gotten off to a good start. So I assume we're still on track to get done by the end of the year.
Yes, definitely. They are not here yet. They are working from his office. They are in they call it preparation process, the planning, but they are going to be here next Monday.
All right, great. I had last meeting, I'd asked the mayor if we couldn't get an accounting of the input of funds and expenditures for the all-inclusive playground at some point. I know it's not all finished and accounted for. Is that something you'll be able to provide?
Yes, we
Okay.
have that, all of that detail.
All right. Do you have?
And to be clear, maybe the question, you're wanting not just the city money, but the nonprofits money.
That's correct. Yeah. The whole,
Okay. I do have everything related City of Mamel. If there is another entities, non-profit organizations that manage some money, I will not have that information. I just have whatever it is in the name of the City of Mamel. Revenue as well as payments. Other than that, we don't manage nothing here.
Okay. Is there somebody, Mr. Rayburn, by any chance, keeping up with how all this is playing out?
Well, so the city does not manage just like the Lions Club came and donated money and built a basketball court at the police department, doesn't mean the city of Maumelle now manages the money. Philip was a signatory on that account. You've asked for him to be here. We can get to him if you have some questions. I think he has access to information that I don't, but we don't manage, that is not city money on city books managed by the finance department. Philip may have way more information about that nonprofit's finances than Beatrice, who I think only information she has is stuff that she's gotten as
Yeah, but I can provide that information, without any problem, whatever we have for the city.
Okay. The whole idea is I'm wanting to make sure that however much funds were raised by both entities and expenditures match up, and if there's leftover money, we need to figure out that it probably needs to go to the city, as I would understand it.
Probably, somebody in
Well, if we're talking
Ahoya
about-
asked me about donations from another Paris, but they don't come here. They come to an organization that I don't even know the name that manage other funds.
Okay.
Sometimes.
Is it that Timmons Art Foundation? Is that what we're looking, the other entity?
No, I don't know.
Okay. All
I
right.
don't know.
Okay, that's all I've got, I think, for you right now. I'll ask Mr. Rayburn here under Alderman comments. Thank you.
And I will prepare the summary for you on the pickleball costs and expenses, and I will prepare the report for you.
Okay, you'll go ahead and give me what you've got right now.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much.
Any additional questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept the financials. I've got a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Financials are accepted. Thank you, Beatrice.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll entertain a motion to have all ordinances and resolutions read by title only.
So moved.
I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. That brings us to unfinished business. The first item of unfinished business is the third reading of ordinance 1129, accepting dedication of streets and drainage. Madam City Clerk Treasurer, if you will please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1129, an ordinance to accept and confirm the dedication of certain streets and drainage and a development known as Maumelle Valley Estates Phase 2021 addition to the City of Maumelle and for other purposes.
Thank you. I'll open the floor for discussion. If there is none, I'd entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 1129.
So moved. Second.
I've got a motion and second. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Mosley,
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Tierney,
Yes.
Councilmember Shin,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt.
Yes.
Motion passes. Ordinance 1129 is adopted. Next order of business is the third reading of ordinance 1130 to vacate plats of lots 695 through 726. Madam City Clerk Treasurer, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1130, an ordinance to vacate a plat of lots 695 through 726 and Open Space 1 of the Country Club of Arkansas addition to the City of Maumelle, filed for record as Book F, page 116D of the records of Pulaski County, Arkansas on January 23rd, 1998, and for other purposes.
I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion.
Motion to approve ordinance 1130. Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Mosley,
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner,
Yes.
Councilmember Tierney,
Yes.
Councilmember Shin,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt.
Yes.
Motion passes. Ordinance 1130 is adopted. That concludes unfinished business, which brings us to new business. The first item of new business is the appointment of Civil Service Commissioner. We have two applicants. As is standard, I would ask that the applicant, Mr. Durham, if you wouldn't mind stepping out into the lobby, and we'll call up Eric Van Dyke. Please come on forward. And I'm sure Deb can make sure that you go to the blue room or the map room and can't hear the speaker in the lobby for all the super secret questions. Eric, or Mr. Van Dyke, your resume or letter is here in the council packet, so we've had a chance to see that, but please take a minute, introduce yourselves, and...
Sure. Thank you, Councilman and Mayor.
Would you mind pulling that mic up a little bit? There you go. Thank you, sir.
For giving me a few minutes. I'll be brief. My name is Eric Van Dyke. I've lived in Maumelle for only 4.5 years. I've been a resident of Arkansas for, probably 25 or 30 years. My wife and I relocated here from Bentonville 4.5 years ago. So my entire life, starting at 17 years old in the Army, I turned 18 in basic training. I've done community service in one fashion or the other. So, I spent after my stint in the Army, I joined the police department in Northwest Arkansas. I spent about 14 years doing that. You know, after law enforcement, I moved to the private sector, the corporate sector, where I still work for Walmart. I involved myself in Northwest Arkansas with several different community service organizations, Sheepdog Impact Assistance. I was a commissioner for the Bentonville Youth Baseball League for a number of years. When we moved here, COVID hit about a month later, and I have not gotten involved in any community service organizations. I believe that community service is, everybody doesn't have to. I feel the need to. I've been interested in the civil service in Maumelle ever since we've been here. I think I bring a lot. I know I bring a lot to the table as far as my knowledge of, how the municipalities handle the emergency services. I'm pro-police. I make no bones about that. But I'm also pro doing it the right way. I think there has to be some degree of checks and balances. I see how the city of Maumelle operates. I don't think that, I'm not coming and applying for this, to try to come and save the city by any means. I think the city is very well run. I think the police department and the fire department are very well run. I think it's that degree of transparency and those checks and balances that the Civil Service Commission has a part of that I think I can contribute to. So that's the short of it for me.
Thank you, sir. I'll open the floor for discussions. Before I do that, you're with Walmart as in organized retail crime. Is that nearly as cool as it sounds?
Right now, I'm tracking $1.5 million fraud ring that Pine Bluff PD was just fortunate enough to make an arrest for us. So it's got its boring moments, but I track the fraud rings that go around the country. They come in all shapes and sizes: the financial crimes, the merchandise boosters, etc.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, thank you very much for applying. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
I think you're a very good candidate. And if you don't make it this round, come back, because there's people that third time's a charm or something like that. So
Sure.
I think you're a great candidate, and I'd like to see you involved in the city too. Other things, run for city council. We're getting ready to have an election here this November, so.
That's a different animal, but
Yeah, it is. But yeah, it is.
Yeah. As you know.
But if you get the inclination, holler. I'm trying to help anybody that wants through the process and stuff, because I believe in having plenty of people run every time, so.
Thank you, sir.
Can I ask just one question here? What is the Sheepdog Impact Assistance?
Yeah, Sheepdog Impact Assistance is it's an organization that's grown tremendously, based in Northwest Arkansas. But the long and short of it is, it's an organization that responds to disasters and helps. So basically, chainsaw work. If you can picture a tornado, for example, the tornado that just hit Northwest Arkansas and that we had here. The immediate needs, the needs carry on for years, obviously, but the immediate needs are getting trees out of houses, clearing driveways, patching roofs. That's what we do. Pass out food, help just with those 2 to 3, 4, 5 day aftermath immediate needs, passing out water, etc.
All right. Thank you so much. That's all I've got. Thank you, sir.
If there's nothing further, thank you, Mr. Van Dyke. You're welcome to stay in here since you know the questions. And if we could bring in Harvey, Mr. Durham.
Thank you.
Please. Thank you, sir. Mr. Durham, you're up.
All right.
We have your resume letter that's already included in the packet.
Okay.
But if you wouldn't mind reintroducing yourself to the city council?
Harvey Durham, I live at 2 DeGray Cove. I've lived in Maumelle since 2009.
Thank you. Is there anything else you want to tell the council?
Been on the Civil Service Commission for quite a few years. I think it was 2011 or 12 I joined up.
Gotcha. If there's nothing further from you, I'll open the floor for questions. Councilmember Mosley?
Give us your perspective, as much as you can. I know this is kind of a different animal, but what can Maumelle do better as far as police and fire from your standpoint or your perspective and that sort of thing? You have anything to share with us on that?
Well, I think you've kept bumping the salaries up. That helps because there's so many agencies out there that are trying to take them away from you. You've got a quality group in both of them. But what we've seen just on we do the interviews for promotions and with top-notch people, and they like Maumelle. They like the size of Maumelle. Some of the comments we get that after our oral interviews are not that they want to make more money. It's equipment or more personnel, maybe, especially fire department.
Okay. Got one more question. And it just left my brain here. Hang on just a second. Let's see if I can come up with. Oh, I know. I understand there's not that many civil service commissions throughout Arkansas. And are you aware of that? And why would not there be more? Why are there? I think there's only 10 or something. Somebody told me.
I didn't realize that.
Okay. But
I thought it was based on population that you had. Mandatory state had to have one, but.
All right. That's all. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you, sir. You may have a seat. We have a paper ballot that I'm a little bit nervous about. Nervous because there's 5 council members here and we need 5 to vote to pass. So we may have a round or 2 here. But please fill out the ballot. Make sure your name is legible, please, and pass them down. While we are counting Chads over there, Councilmember Mosley said it best. If someone doesn't get on it or is, we're always looking for more people to get involved. It's not uncommon for people to apply once or twice or 3 times before they get appointed. So don't let the results of this sway you. We do not have a majority. We can try it again. We'll do it one more time, and then we'll probably just wait until we have a full council, or at least more than 5. So, do we have? We'll repass out ballots. If you were 5149, maybe reconsider. If you feel strongly about it, don't worry. We'll do it another day, another time. We do not have a majority. I'm going to go ahead and just postpone this to the next city council meeting. To both of the applicants, I would encourage you to show back up. We'll go through this process again. I'll have hopefully, I'll have up to 3 more council members to vote. Whenever we're down to 5, it makes it really hard because then it has to be unanimous. So we'll just bring this up at the next city council meeting. Thank you all for coming out, and hopefully next time's the last time. But it wouldn't be the first time that it wasn't the last time. With that, that concludes new business. We'll move on to mayor's comments. I was gonna mention a little bit about the water issue that I mentioned before, but we've covered that. I wanted to point out that Philip was here. If there's any questions, maybe Philip, if you could just come on down in anticipation for those questions. I want to point out something that maybe isn't as obvious to everyone else. Parks and Rec has probably had their busiest year in a long time, and really that extends beyond just going back to January 1st, and has really done a tremendous job stepping up with projects all over the place. Some of them were not necessarily their projects, they're our projects or mine, and we've injected them into it, and they've picked those up and carried on with that. So with that, I know Councilmember Mosley, you had some questions for Philip, and then you had asked for different information regarding Park on the River and scheduling or the condition of the building. I told you I'd bring Philip down and just be available if there are any questions. So maybe Philip,
Yeah.
You want to just hit
I'll just dive into it with,
Thank you,
we'll
sir.
start with the all-inclusive playground and the splash pad. Yes, when we first started the project, I was on the Timmons Art Foundation for the playground and the splash pad, and I was signing checks. Oh, sorry. And I was signing the checks at that time once we made purchases. City Attorney Thornton, I guess once he came on, he decided that the signature should be coming from somebody with the Timmons Art Foundation. So we switched it over. But I've got copies of every bank statement. I've got copies of every invoice, every check that was written, and so I can get those to you, or anybody that would like them, I can provide those, because I've already got copies of them from day one till current. Yeah. And we still have some money left in it. I know there was checks that I took over to Timmons Arts Foundation so they could sign them. I've got those sent out, and I've got one that I just prepared today. So, but I've got, like I said, I've got all the records and everything for that.
Okay. About how much is left over there?
I would probably about 40,000.
How much is unspent at the city that you're aware of?
I think all the city fund came from the finance department for all the grants that we put into, that went to the city and not the Timmons Art Foundation. So finance will have all the grants and all the city's budgeted money that the council put in.
Okay, I'll wait for your accounting then. And it sounds like a complicated process.
It was very long. I think it started around 2018.
Yeah.
And we're in 2024, so.
Yeah, have you ever done anything like this where there's a nonprofit involved and all that? Okay, because usually it's just the city decides to do something, they budget some money, and off you go. And
yeah, that would be a whole lot easier.
And you get things you got to pay.
We've got a bigger playground, and we had a lot of council people that were on the committee, and a lot of Maumelle volunteers and sponsorships, and so we've got a whole lot better playground this way, but it was a whole lot more work.
Good. Yeah, the splash pad and the playground have been kid tested from our standpoint. Our grandkids have been all over that the last 2 years, and so it's a nice facility. So
yeah,
you
if you could
well.
look at the you know, starting here at City Hall, then we got the tennis courts, then we got the splash pad, then we have the playground, now we got jump the elementary school, we got pickleball, and then everything in the community center. So it's kind of a strip right through there that's pretty much all Parks and Rec.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I think you said you're gonna have try to get some, what do you call it, a drone to go through there and film all that. And 'cause
Yeah, one of our employees has a drone. I'm gonna see if he'll do an overview of that for us.
All right, well, that's all I've got on the playground right now. As far as the park on the river, as far as being up and running and taking reservations on that, how are we coming along there?
Yeah, the date I had was October 1st is when we will actually take over. But Timmons has had some people trying to book past that, and she's passed those on to me. I think we've got maybe one or two right now. But then we can start a date. We're still working right now to get our application forms nailed down, exactly everything we want on there for them to fill out to be able to rent it. That should be done within the week. So, yeah, I'd have to have conversation with the mayor to see when we really want to start taking reservations from, you know, the public.
Okay, it's only about 2.5 months.
Right.
You think maybe we'd start in a month or 2 weeks or something like that?
I mean, anytime's fine with me.
Okay.
So,
Well, don't wait on me. I'm good whenever y'all
okay.
are.
All right. Well, as soon as we get our application forms nailed down, because it's
I
got a
know
lot
that.
of, and I've got some questions that I'll have for the mayor too on some of this in staff meetings. But right now we're looking at the house rental for $500 would get you 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then after 10 p.m., it would bump up $100 more for staying open later. They'll be looking at paying a damage deposit of $300 that they would get back after the rental if nothing was torn up. We're looking at the lower level with the grass close to the river, $200 rental for that. And then I've got to confirm with the police department on their off-duty officers for security. I think in the past it's been $40 to $45 an hour, and then it bumps up after midnight if anything goes past midnight. And then if there's alcohol, then the renter would have to get a service, a bartender, a licensed bartender, and that would take any, I'm not sure the word I'm looking for, but that'd take not pressure, but take it off the Parks Department in the city if it's liability. Thank you, sir. It takes us kind of out of that liability, and but security would be mandatory, especially if they have beer.
On any kind of a rental on the house, okay.
Yes, sir. So you're looking full price breakdown. Now you'll get the deposit back, but depends on what you choose to utilize will be the payment. But from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. it's $500, and then after that it changes depending on what your needs are.
Okay, I was kind of thinking, how does North Little Rock do it? They do it a full day like that, or they
I
divide
believe
it
so,
up?
because I know we looked at North Little Rock. You know, we went off their square footage of the building that they had, which is, when you look out the glass windows over, nobody's going to have that view that we've got. But but yeah, for $500, we're going to stay booked, in my opinion.
Okay. What if somebody wants to rent for like the afternoon, and then somebody wants to rent for the evening?
Starting out, we're probably not going to do back-to-back stuff till we get our feet wet and see how it works out, and then see what we can handle. Because you've got to, they're also, when somebody rents it, whatever they bring in, if they rent chairs or if they do pipe and drape, they have to get that out before they leave the venue. So
Okay, so we're not planning to have chairs and tables and stuff?
We plan to have like 10 round tables, 100 chairs, and some covers for the
Okay.
for the table. But not, if they want different colors or different chairs, then they'll have to go out and find a vendor to do that. What we plan on doing there is having a list of vendors that would work in the Maumelle area. So if somebody wanted red pipe and drape, we could say, hey, you might check this vendor or this vendor to try to find what they're looking for. But we're not gonna, Parks Department's not gonna decorate, and that'll be on them.
All right, all right. Okay, yeah, I just encourage you to start taking them as soon as possible. I know some people have been interested in the holiday time period and stuff, for little family reunions or birthdays. I don't know if they can pay $500 for a birthday for a whole day, but,
Yeah, and another question I would have for the mayor is for, like our, civic organizations.
Yeah.
Typically, at the community center, Lions Club, Rotary, if they wanna use the rooms there, we allow them, which is so much easier because our offices are there, my staff's there, but once we move out, you know, to a satellite location, it would almost, wouldn't be, you know, if we're having to drive that distance and carry stuff out there, that's why we're kind of going to the route to where if you rent out there, any stuff you want, it's gonna be a rental that they'll have to
all
pay
right.
for.
Anybody else have questions in that regard? Go right ahead.
Councilmember Tierney,
Well, I was gonna ask about a different topic.
whatever topic you'd like, sir.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
I'm curious, where are we at with the tree board? I know that used to we would get a certification every year, and I haven't seen one in a while. And I know we lost our president of our tree board.
The
I'm just
Tree
trying-
City USA?
Yes, exactly.
We still have those designations.
Are they, who do we have in charge of that now?
Of the tree board or
Mhm.
the Tree City USA?
The tree board.
Do you know who the president of the tree board is?
Now, me? Yeah, right now we currently don't have.
Okay.
But the Parks Department's gonna take it over and do the paperwork and make sure, do the Arbor Day. So we helped with them anyway,
Mhm.
so we'll just pick that ball up and keep it going.
All right, so you'll be doing both the tree board and the Tree City USA?
Tree City USA is a designation.
Right, I know, but I mean, we gotta do applications for it.
You did the applications all
Yeah,
the time
well-
anyways, right? Or did the tree board?
I started out doing it until it got rolling. But yeah, we'll still, the Parks Department will take over that.
Okay, that's what I was curious about, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Gardner?
Go back to Park on the River. Right now, Timmons is paying, is it $1,500 a month in rent? Is that right?
That
Which is-
sounds accurate.
Okay, so we're charging $500 a month in rent. Is that gonna require any Parks and Rec staff to be there during the time that it's open?
Depends on the event. What we're gonna do, we've got some parameters in our, like if, for weddings. And I had a meeting with Timmons and, Gordon Borst and Shatera, and we sat down and I just said, so what gave you the most issues, or what do we need to look for? And she gave us some suggestions on different things. So what we're looking at doing is having, like if you were getting married and you wanted to come look at the venue, Tim has told us that you gotta set a limit on how many times they can come, because they will wear you out. And that's kind of where we're good to know, and trying to work out just that distance from the center, from where our offices are to there. But we've got rec aides that we're already starting to train up that can show the house. I'm a little leery on, and I think we've got it scheduled, I think I've got it here somewhere. I think we've got it scheduled for 2 visits will be allowed before the event for planning purposes. And then if they wanna set up a time to meet, it's during daylight hours, so I don't have my staff out there alone.
And so during the actual event, would that require an on-site presence by a city employee?
We'll have police.
And are they paying an extra fee for the police? So
Yes,
that's
sir.
on top of the 500?
Yep.
Okay.
Like I said, that's the $40 to $45, or from what they currently did. I've still gotta talk to Chief Pickard and find out who to talk to there to see
Yeah.
if that's the same rate. But it was $40 an hour until after midnight, and then it jumped to 45.
Yeah. I'm concerned for Parks and Rec that I don't want y'all to be in the event management business. That's a whole other animal.
Yeah, they were trying to stay in the.
I know you're gonna try to stay in your
venue,
lane, but
the
there-
rental part, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm just doing the math and thinking, okay, we've got to book it 3 times at least through Parks and Rec to make up what we're making in rent from somebody else that's in the event management business. So I think this will be a fun little experiment for the city to see how much we can actually make on this wonderful property that we own.
Right.
So,
Well, I know a lot of the residents thought that it was way overpriced for.
they should shop around and see what it actually
some
costs to
events,
rent
right,
places.
Right, yeah. But for
Yeah.
$500 with that setting, that's a deal.
I wish you the best, Mr. Rayburn. But please let us, let the mayor know, whoever, if this gets to be one of those things where, I'm concerned for y'all from a staffing standpoint. Because when you talk about doing showings, that takes somebody an hour plus, even including driving time, to do that. So I just, it's gonna be work on Parks and Rec, and y'all are overworked and understaffed as it is, so, all right, that's all I have, thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Shin?
Yes, sir. I had a constituent reach out. Apparently, we're having wildlife problems along the Greenbelt Stone Ledge. And they said that animal control, it's deer. It's not small animals. And the animal control said there was nothing that they could do about it. And I wanted to see if we could contact Game and Fish.
If there's anything, we
To
have deer
to control-
problems?
Yes, we're having deer problems apparently. Yards are
What-
getting all torn up and chewed up and.
I had 4 in my yard last night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there, does Game and Fish do anything about that?
They have someone that'll come out. I've got some information. I can send it to your office if you'd like to follow
Sure.
up. And maybe in the next couple of meetings, we might have them speak.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah. Yeah, I hope we're not, just shooting for weddings and things like that, the park on the river. I just want to see that rented out as much as possible, and we may want to visit that $500 may, on days where it's not going to be a big event, there's no reason why we couldn't take 300 for a birthday party in the evening or something like that. So let's think about that. Okay, I had one other question for Mr. Rayburn here. I was going to ask you about, I think Mr. Shannon and I are both kind of interested in maybe seeing a little paving or whatever done at Lake Willestein to upgrade some of the areas that are looking a little rough. I'm not saying pave the whole darn thing, but do you have it in your budget for anything like that in this coming year or in this year or next year?
Not in this year, but yes, we have Rolling Oaks and the baseball complex and Willestein are the top 3 that we're over that we would be looking in the future to get repaved.
Okay.
And I'd say the worst is Rolling Oaks. Second
Okay.
would be baseball, and then third would be Lake Willestein.
All right. We use, there's a lot of people that use that Willestein, so give that some consideration. But, even doing an 1/8 a year or something like that would make people.
Well, it used to be that it had to be a road to use street funds for.
Yeah.
But now I think it's changed to parking lots.
There's some street roads we can do parking lots with. There's some street funds that can be used for parking lots.
Okay. All right. That's all I've got for you. I think I had one more, and I'll yield if anybody else has another one.
If that's it with you, Philip, then that concludes mayor's comments, and we'll move on to council member comments.
Oh, okay, that wasn't council member comment?
No, now it's council member comments. Councilmember Mosley?
Okay. I was going to ask a question of the city attorney. We had talked about, there was I'd seen an article in the newspaper that the county attorney for Pulaski County had written a memo, I think, to the quorum court and the county judge. He was concerned about that it may be an illegal exaction if police officers are using their uniforms, cars, equipment, that sort of thing, for after-hours work. And I had asked, I'd sent that to the city attorney and just asked him to see if that's anything we need to be worried about here at the city level.
Yeah, the county attorney sent a letter to the county sheriff. I think it arose from some litigation because a deputy sheriff was moonlighting off-duty security, which is pretty common, but it also can trigger liability for the county when they're acting under color of state law. There's a special county official statute that the county attorney was citing in his letter to the county sheriff. He's told me that he had heard there was an equivalent statute for municipalities, but he didn't find it, and I'm still looking for it. So I don't have I know it's been a little while, but I don't have an answer for you yet.
Okay, all right, well.
I will tell you that this is incredibly common practice statewide.
Yeah.
For off-duty police to work security, because of course they're licensed and trained. So it's very, very common practice, and that's not, I don't know if that's an official legal reason for something to be legal, but it is one of the factors that I consider. They would have to rewrite the law for hundreds of police departments in the state.
All right.
But I'm still looking into it.
I'll stay tuned. Thank you
Yes,
so
sir.
much. That's all I've got, I think.
Any additional council member comments? City attorney comment?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I did put on the agenda the issue of diamond reflexotherapy. Y'all may have heard there was an arrest for prostitution at this business recently, and after that initial arrest, I wrote a letter to the landlord and the tenant informing them of the arrest and also informing them that I would take action to evict the tenant if there's any further arrests on the premises. And there was another arrest for prostitution for a different individual a few weeks after the letter that I sent. I've been in contact with the property manager, and they are going to evict the tenant. And there is another statute which city attorneys and prosecuting attorneys can use cases like this. So if they were not going to evict the tenant, which they told me they will, but if they didn't, I would move to evict the tenant. And of course, I rarely, if ever, comment on pending criminal cases because there are very specific rules about what lawyers can say, prosecutors particularly. So I just have the caveat that everybody who's arrested, of course, is presumed innocent until they've been proven guilty and beyond a reasonable doubt. But I just wanted, you might have heard about this issue with this business, and I just wanted to inform you all that we're on top of it.
Thank you, sir. City clerk comments? At this time, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adjourn the city council meeting of July the 15th, 2024.
Got a motion, do I have a second? Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries, we are adjourned.